Don't leave. Please don't walk away. I need to do this. I'm sorry.
She looked me in the eyes, her voice cold and final. Not tonight or any other night. For the first time, I realized no amount of pleading would change her mind. So I walked away, but I had no idea that walking away would set in motion a chain of events that would change everything. What followed was a story of betrayal, reckoning, and a revenge she never saw coming. I could feel the tension in the room before she even spoke. The air was heavy, like it had been waiting for this moment for weeks. I had tried to reach her, tried to bridge the distance that had grown between us over time. But no matter what I said, no matter how gently I tried, it wasn't enough. She looked at me with eyes that were cold, distant, and tired. I could see the decision had already been made. Not tonight or any other night, she said quietly but firmly. Those words hit me harder than I expected. I opened my mouth to argue, to plead, but nothing came out. There was no anger, no shouting, just a quiet finality in her voice that made my chest tighten. I realized then that this wasn't about one night, or even one disagreement. This was about all the moments that had been ignored, all the times we had drifted apart without noticing. This was the breaking point. I sat there for a long moment, letting the silence fill the space between us. I felt frustration, yes, but also a deep sadness I hadn't allowed myself to feel in a long time. I understood something crucial. Nothing I did in that moment could change her mind, and for the first time, I felt the truth settle in my heart. I could either keep chasing something that wasn't there, or I could walk away. I stood up slowly, feeling the weight of every unspoken word between us. The house felt smaller somehow, the walls pressing in with the memories of arguments, silences, and unmet expectations. I wanted to stay, to fix everything, to convince her that things could be different, but deep down, I knew it was impossible. Sometimes walking away is harder than fighting. You feel the pull of what used to be, the hope that things could change. But you also feel the pull of self-respect, the quiet voice inside that says, enough is enough. I took a deep breath, telling myself that this was not giving up. It was making a choice to stop chasing something that had already drifted too far. She watched me, her face unreadable. I didn't look back. I walked to the door, each step feeling heavier than the last, but with a strange clarity that I hadn't felt in years. Outside, the air was cool and sharp, carrying the scent of the evening. I let the door close gently behind me, a soft click marking the start of something new. For the first time, I felt a strange mix of fear and freedom that comes with leaving. I didn't know what would happen next, but I knew one thing for sure. I wasn't running away. I was finally stepping forward for myself, for my life, and for the chance to find the respect and peace I deserved. From a distance, I watched her in the days that followed. At first, I thought walking away would let everything settle, let the tension fade. But I noticed small changes in her, the way she moved through the house, the way her eyes darted when she thought no one was looking. She seemed restless, unsettled. She spoke less, lingered longer on trivial things, and sometimes I could catch the faintest shadow of frustration on her face. It was strange to see her like this, knowing I was no longer chasing, no longer pleading, no longer trying to force a connection that wasn't there. For the first time, I realized something important. Absence has its own power. By stepping back, I had shifted the balance between us. And even though I stayed apart, I could feel the ripples of change spreading, quiet and unstoppable, across the life we had once shared. A few days after I walked away, I stumbled across something I wasn't expecting. I had gone through some old papers and messages, things I had ignored before, because I didn't want to believe them. But now, without the weight of chasing or pleading, I could see clearly. There were letters, emails, and receipts that didn't make sense. Things she had hidden from me. Small lies at first, almost unnoticeable, but enough to reveal a bigger picture. I realized she had been dishonest about more than I could have imagined. It wasn't just a little thing she had kept from me. It was choices she made that hurt us both, actions that betrayed the trust we had spent years building. I felt a mix of anger and sadness. The betrayal cut deep, but strangely, it also gave me clarity. I no longer had to wonder why things had fallen apart. And in that clarity, a thought began to take root. Maybe walking away wasn't the end. Maybe it was a first step towards something bigger, something that could finally set the balance right. Once I understood the full extent of her betrayal, I knew I couldn't rush into anything. Revenge wasn't about anger, it was about careful, quiet strategy. I spent hours thinking, watching, and planning. Every detail mattered. Every move had to be precise. I didn't want to act out of spite. I wanted to reclaim control, to show her the consequences of her choices, and to prove to myself that I could face this with dignity. I wrote notes, organized evidence, and mapped out the steps that would shift the power back where it belonged. Each day I observed her routines, noting what she valued and where she was vulnerable. I kept my distance, let her think she was free to ignore or manipulate, while quietly preparing my plan. The more I planned, the more I realized that patience was my greatest weapon. The world doesn't have to respond immediately to betrayal. Sometimes the strongest impact comes from waiting, watching, and striking at the perfect moment. I felt a strange sense of calm. Walking away had given me clarity, and now planning this revenge gave me purpose. What was coming next wouldn't just be payback. It would be a lesson she wouldn't forget. I knew the first step had to be subtle. Nothing reckless, nothing obvious. I started with small changes that would unsettle her without revealing my hand. A misplaced bill here, a quiet correction of a rumor there enough to make her question what she thought she controlled. She noticed, of course. At first, she tried to ignore it, brushing off the little disruptions as coincidences. But the look in her eyes told me she felt the shift. She didn't know I was behind it, but she sensed that something was changing. I watched quietly from a distance, careful not to reveal my presence. Each reaction from her was a small victory, proof that patience and observation were more powerful than anger. I didn't act in anger. I acted in precision. Every small step was calculated to teach her a lesson without stooping to cruelty. And as I watched her scramble to regain a sense of control, I realized something important. Revenge isn't about destroying someone else. It's about reclaiming your own power, showing that walking away doesn't mean giving up. It means preparing for what comes next. The day finally came. Every small move, every careful step I had taken led to this moment. I had watched, waited, and prepared, and now it was time for the consequences to become real. I confronted her calmly, without shouting, without drama. I didn't need to. The truth was already in my hands, clear and undeniable. Documents, messages, and small evidence of her betrayals were laid out in front of her. There was no escaping it, no pretending she hadn't done what she did. Her eyes widened as she realized the scale of what she had hidden. Shock and fear flashed across her face. She searched for excuses, but there were none. I didn't need to raise my voice. The silence itself carried the weight of everything she had lost her control, her comfort, and the sense that she could manipulate me any longer. I spoke softly, deliberately. This is what happens when trust is broken. This is what happens when choices are made without respect. I walked away once, but this is the outcome of clarity, patience, and truth. She had nothing to say. Her pride crumbled, and I saw the full measure of my plan take effect. In that moment, I didn't feel triumph over her. I felt strength in myself. I had reclaimed my dignity, my power, and my peace. The payoff wasn't revenge and anger. It was justice delivered quietly, without losing myself in bitterness. And for the first time in a long while, I felt free. The storm of emotions had passed, leaving a calm I hadn't felt in years. Sitting alone in the quiet of my home, I thought about everything that had happened, the rejection, the betrayal, and the careful path I had taken to reclaim my life. Walking away had been the hardest choice, but it had been the right one. It gave me space to see clearly, to understand what mattered, and to realize my own worth. I hadn't just survived the pain. I had grown stronger because of it. I looked around the room, at the life I had built for myself, small but steady. For the first time, I felt the kind of peace that comes from knowing you are in control of your own story. The past no longer held power over me. I understood that life moves forward when you choose dignity over desperation, patience over impulse, and self-respect over chasing what isn't meant for you. A quiet smile crossed my face. The future was uncertain, yes, but it was mine. I didn't need revenge anymore. I had learned the real lesson. Walking away isn't giving up, it's gaining the freedom to begin again. And in that freedom, I felt alive.